cold beer.
Jon Griffin here, your professor at AskTheBeerGuy.com, with another quick beer update. I should start calling this the beer review instead of Ask the Beer Guy, because it seems like I've been doing a lot of them lately, but that's the time of year it is. It's nice and warm outside, so I can go outside and do these reviews. I like doing it a lot better than sitting at my table. And since we had Belgian week starting this week in class, I decided I'm going to do something a little different, and I didn't just pull out the doubles, the triples, the strong darks, the wit beers, and those. I tried to get some new cool breweries from Belgium. A lot of people don't realize this, but Belgium, like the rest of the world, is going through a renaissance in the beer world. There's a lot of small brewers coming up, and even though there's the big few that make a lot of the main beers that everybody knows, there's a lot of new beer styles and breweries coming up in Belgium. The brewery we're going to talk about today is called the Brewery, the Musketeers. And they name all their beers in the typical craft beer way as kind of silly names. The brewery was founded in the year 2000 by 4 brewing grads who found out that really isn't that easy to get a job in the brewing industry. So they decided to form their own. The 4 brewers got together because they found it was really hard. The brewery elite kept the recipes in-house. Many were family brewers with a lot of tradition, and they got some home brewing equipment, made up some recipes, including a semi-strong blonde, which is their first beer that they really liked. And they finally got a big production system and started brewing. So they named their brewery after the troubadours of the old days, where the music was to be enjoyed as well as newsworthy. And this is a review of the Obscura, which is they call it a mild stout, but at 8.8% alcohol, you be the judge of that. I don't call it mild, but it's a Belgian tradition of a stout. So it's like a stout with a Belgian body and Belgian yeast. So I have not tried it yet. This will be the first time I've tried it, and through the magic of television, you're going to get to see it as it happens. This is the beer. It's Troubadour Obscura mild stout. Alcohol 8.2. I'm sorry, I thought it was 8.8. But in any case, that's what the bottle looks like. And we're about to pour it and open it up. Actually, I'll read the back for you. Mild stout, re-fermented in the bottle, pleasantly bitter with a perfect combination of roasted malt and chocolate flavor derived from the dark malt. Creamy head, serve at 42 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. See, they must have known they were bringing this to the US. Actually, the importer probably did that, but they don't have it in Celsius. So those of you that aren't in the States and use that old antiquated new system called the metric system, well, you're going to have to translate that yourself. Through the magic of television, we're going to open this up here. Not as big of a pop as I would have expected with the hiss from carbonation, but there's definitely some in there. I can see the bubbles, even though you can't. Another shout out to Big Dogs, my local brewery. Hint to brewers who want to have their beer reviewed on Ask the Beer Guy. Glassware is always appreciated to pour your beer. But in any case, here we go. We're going to pour the Obscura in real time here. Nice creamy white head, I can tell already. Plenty of carbonation, as you can see there. Nice big foamy head. Definitely get the Belgianness on this. A lot of Belgian yeast character. I've actually had this out for a bit, so it's nice and warm. So, yeah, I keep getting more Belgianness. I get a tiny bit of chocolate, but if I had to guess, I'd call this a double without trying it. But when you get to the flavor, definitely get the fruitiness, a lot of fruitiness, dark fruit. It's kind of like a cross between a Belgian double and a foreign extra stout or maybe a Russian Imperial, although not quite that chocolatey. I'd say it's more like a foreign extra stout mixed with a double. Definitely get the sweetness, the Belgianness of the beer, of the Belgian side of the beer. Carbonation, body, mouthfeel, very Belgian. Nice Belgian lace, some foamy head. I wish you could see that. I'm not sure if you can or not. You can see that in there. But you get the hints of chocolate, which you normally wouldn't get, the roasted malt that isn't very typical of most Belgian doubles. So it's kind of an interesting beer. I actually kind of like it. It's different. Wouldn't call it a mild stout. It's really its own category, like most beer these days. You can definitely tell it doesn't have the dryness of a dry stout. It's got the Belgianness so much in that yeast. I can't really describe it except to say it's Belgian, and once you've had that, you know. Pretty much all the aroma I get's a tiny hints of chocolate, maybe a little coffee, and lots of that Belgian yeast character. I kind of like this beer. That's my review. Hard to judge this because there's really no category for this. But on a scale of 50, just judging it for what it is, I'd probably give it in the low 40s. Very drinkable, even though it's 8.2%. It's probably a little scary, kind of like the strong dark Belgians, that you don't realize you're drinking something that big. But it's actually quite refreshing on a warm. I'm certainly not in the middle of summer here. It's about 80 degrees out. And it's probably, this beer's at about 50 degrees or so, 55 maybe, so it's perfect temperature for drinking an ale. And I highly recommend you get this beer. And again, any breweries who want their beer reviewed, let me know. Send me some information. If I can get it in Las Vegas, I'll be happy to review it. And if you have your distributor out here, send me a glass. That would be even better. You can follow me on askthebeerguy.com, and I'm going to soon have my classes online as well, so you can actually get your PhD in beer, or at least a little bit of beer education for free. So make sure you go to askthebeerguy.com and sign up for the newsletter. I don't spam. All I do is send out a weekly review of what I've talked about in the week, and that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this beer review and go out and try this fine beer. I forgot to mention this was a bottle fermented beer, so it is yeast in the bottom. So if yeast at the bottom of a beer scares you, just decant it. Otherwise, do what I do and stir it, slosh it up, and get those B vitamins.
Learn more about beer at askthebeerguy.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our news feed and podcast.